Not sure I make much of this little group of humans the Lady Nact has roped into her little investigation. To me it seems like they never done this sort of thing before. But well, humans do have a habit of diving into things they don't understand. I'll do my best to aid them and fulfill the favour I owe. Grungy knows I'm a man of my word. It's not like there's no merit to their investigation. If they do actually find a nest of those vipers, that would of course benefit the city. But there are so many more pressing threats right now, not just from other cults, but from all the unrest in the region. All this Huracan versus Sigma nonsense, the Nordlander riots and unrest, and well, the Graf himself. In the past, so much of this would already have been handled, but well, since the death of his second wife, the Graf has not been himself. Human age, I feel, has caught up to him. Things could soon fall into the hands of his only true heir, Baron Stefan, but the poor boy is so stricken with sickness. Of course, the Baroness Katrina, the so-called princess, or even the Baron Reiner could take up the mantle, but with them, well, things get more tricky. Dark times. And that is all just here in Middenland. Things get any worse, I'm not sure the province will be able to keep the peace. This is Red Moon Roleplay. Kruger Hoffman, here you were hoping to get a good night's sleep, but it seems to have been disturbed once again as you were woken in your room at the Templar's Arms by a loud bang and lots of noise. What do? It's the morning.
I immediately try to get up on my feet and locate where the sound is coming from, and is this a threat? I have my knife always close by, so I have that in my hand now, ready to pounce on anyone who might burst through the door.
Indeed, you quickly grab your knife, you check your other weapons, you check the others who seem to be stirring at the same time as you do, and you quickly leap to the window to see crowds of people laughing, smiling, joking, blowing trumpets, somewhere another bang. What is that? Some sort of gun going off? You're not quite sure. There's lots of things in the air, strange bits of... You're not sure what it is. It's pretty and colourful, but you're not actually sure what it is, but it's flying through the air, and there's lots of banners and posters and activity. It seems the festival has begun, and it's very, very noisy.
Yes, that is... I mean, festivals are fun. I like them, but I would have wanted to get proper sleep. You know, it's been a busy time lately. So yeah, but I try to look around in the room. And what time of day is it actually? I mean, it must be. Is it late?
You're not sure. Maybe the morning. It must be the morning. You think to yourself. Again, it doesn't seem like you'll be getting much more sleep, though. There's an awful lot of singing going on. Something about a wolf and the great hunt for the wolf. You can't quite make out all the words.
Well, I suppose there's no way to continue sleeping, so I'll get back to my bed and start to prepare for the day ahead, you know, getting my clothes properly on, getting the sheets in order, all that stuff.
Heinrich Schilf and Siegfrieda No Name. What are you two doing? You've also been awoken and see everything that Kruger has seen, although perhaps you weren't quite as surprised by it, or anxious about it as he was.
I think Siegfrieda and Kruger could make it most of the way through their morning routine, making a fair amount of noise. And unless someone shakes him, Heinrich is going to wake up at the very last minute.
Very well then, maybe he stirred for a moment, but he's still fast asleep. What about you, Siegfrieda?
Oh, I take a look at all the comings and goings, all the activities. I'm guessing watching from the inn window as people are moving to and fro, carrying bits and pieces for the festival and the fair and all their stock, no doubt setting up their stalls ready for a rush, given how meagre yesterday's offerings were in terms of food. I'm looking forward to catching a waft of some freshly cooked meat or, you know, nuts or fruit or whatever is on offer.
There are several very nice wafts of exactly that, and then there is a knock on the door of your bedroom.
Well, having gotten mostly done preparing, I'll move up to the door. I look to Siegfrieda first to... Perhaps we should wake Heinrich up just in case it's important.
the knock on the door. You just hear him going, 5 more.
I will give you a shake.
And I'll open the door.
There is a woman you recognize. The barmaid, or one of the barmaids, at least. There are several here. Zelda. She is smiling as she quickly carries in a few trays of steaming hot meats and breakfast treats, and a bottle of ale. Here you are, sirs, again. Well, happy festival, here we go. This one's on the house, although, of course, if you want more, well, we have a very fine menu downstairs, a good brandy for 2 gold crowns, or even this again for 10 silver shillings. Also, she reaches into her pocket and seems to have a bunch of papers there. Some mail, as you said, has come for you, Frau Siegfriede. Apparently, for the attention of Siegfriede and the Lady Wittgendorf. But I was told not to question, just to bring it here. And she hands you a bundle of papers.
You do not need to... We're not going to rip your head off. You can speak calmly.
Oh, sorry, it's a very busy day. I don't normally work today, but busy.
I'm sure. Well, if you can tell us where. So, did you say there was stock that was delivered as well, not just these papers?
No, just this.
Just this. Well, I will give her a silver piece and say, well, I'm sure it will be a busy day, but try to have a joyous one.
She gives you a curtsy and walks off very excited and very happy, leaving a fine breakfast for the 3 of you. And yes, these 2 papers, one of them looks bigger than the other. It seems as if the smaller piece of paper has been sort of just gently attached to the other, but a bit of string.
Well, I'll have a read.
Very well then, will you read the official one first?
Yes.
Yes. So this first letter seems to be very official-looking, written in a very fine hand, with several official-looking seals and stamps.
Let's see, it seems to have come from the Guild of Legalists in Mackenstein. It says, "It is with the deepest sadness that we must inform you of a terrible tragedy that has befallen the lands of Wittgendorf and your estate." Well, wouldn't that be disastrous, I say to my companions, as they no doubt are eating. "Due to these events, you are urged to return to your lands as soon as possible to deal with the rights of succession and taking up your new title. You will, of course, be expected in the town of Mackenstein to present yourself to the town council, who will assist you in presenting yourself before Duke Witold Mackenshen I. Well, that's very presumptuous. There'll be a second one. In the meanwhile, we have gathered the documents we could and presented them to the Guild of Legalists in Middenheim for your collection, and so you are informed of their matters of the will before your attendance." Still drivel, really. "Do make sure to present, of course, a double-signed affidavit to confirm your identity to the Guild, so as to collect your papers and perhaps confer with the Guild in Middenheim for legal advice. Yours sincerely, Tenric Baylor, Senior Lawyer of Tecket and Dunn, Guild of Legalists, Mackenstein." Well, I fold that. And what does the informal letter say before I jump to any decisions or conclusions?
This is written in a far less neat hand. There are no sigils or seals on this, and the paper seems of a lower quality as well.
"Dear Siegfriede, as always your plans border on madness." Well, that seems... Anyway, but after all you have done for the people of Wittgendorf, who am I to judge? So I will ask no questions and do my best to aid you. Luck is on our side, as the envoys from Mackenstein arrived mere hours after I received your letter, so we have told them that the only living Wittgendorf we believe remains had indeed left the area a month or so ago, shortly after the plague ended. I'm a Wittgenstein, not a Wittgendorf. Anyway. As you know, the dealings of nobles are considered so much more important than the untold suffering of the masses, so this matter is being treated with great importance. Hence, being able to get this letter to you as thanks to some clever words, I was able to sneak this letter in along with the other correspondence via Imperial Messenger Hawk. Well, why didn't we think of Messenger Hawks now, instead of sending messengers across the land on horses?
Well, you'd be aware that those are kind of reserved for official legalists.
Well, it wouldn't be the first animal we've appropriated.
Pigeons are more common, in fact, for most people.
This letter should be accompanied by the official correspondence which lists the name Siegfrieda as one of the lady's main servants. This is all I can give you. The ruins of the castle can't even be called ruins, as if the castle never was. But as far as the officials of the duchy are concerned, the last living heir is alive and well in Middenheim. The rest is up to you. May Raya bless you. I'm assuming that's from Sigrid, but there's no name attached, and that is fine. Well, I obviously don't need to maintain this ruse for long. That's not the point. I'm not trying to become the permanent lady of Wittgendorf, or Wittgenstein, or whatever. The whole purpose is to carry off this duplicity while we're in Middenheim, because the heir of nobility may assist us in accessing places we otherwise wouldn't be able to. But our issue here is, or my issue, and this is where we have to determine whether to abandon this plot as a folly, is attending the Guild of Legalists in Middenheim to get this identity verified. They then want me to head to Mackenstein. I don't know where that is. Do either of you know where that is?
Kruger, somewhere obviously in the Reichland, somewhere near the river, you think? From where you remember in Nuln, not near Nuln, but, maybe, did you go through that area? It occurs to you that if this is all about Wittgendorf, well, it must be very close to Wittgendorf, clearly.
Somewhere along the river close to Wittgendorf? Perhaps you passed by there at some point, Heinrich, if it's close to the river.
One muddy hobble's another, but no, my parents were the first ones to make it up that far, and Heinrich says that sentence before realizing he's talking about his parents, and then gets very, very quiet.
You'd know, Siegfrieda, that if it has a duke, it must obviously be a sizable amount of land, a duchy. It might even be, you think, the duchy that Wittgendorf is in.
Well, that would make sense. Either way, it's not in Middenheim. And that would take us off of our course and dealing with the Purple Hand, which is our primary objective. But again, the purpose isn't to find or fabricate a permanent identity unless our paths should end up leading us that way.
Indeed, you'd also think to yourself, Siegfrieda, that the first part of that, well, that is in Middenheim, and if those papers, or whatever that is, could aid you in your disguise, well, that could still be useful. You are, after all, not given a date for when you need to get back, and you do notice it says as soon as possible, and you find yourself thinking, well, these are noble lords and ladies. They probably don't ever demand that they come to places quickly.
No. What I anticipate doing, I will head to the Guild of Legalists. I already have, a brooch or something, and I now also have paperwork addressed to this Wittgenstein that I am pretending to be. I'll go to the Guild of Legalists today. I'll explain this piece of correspondence, show them my brooch, say I am Marguerite Wittgenstein, I came here for the festival, I don't intend to leave until the festival is over as I have important business, and please could you just quickly verify this. I'll slip them a couple of gold crowns to put it through, and I'll get them sending a carrier pigeon off to this other place.
As you are saying that, though, you then quickly read the note again and realize there's one thing you don't have. A twice-signed affidavit. You remember, previously, that was all you actually needed for the previous con. But it was a hard-to-forge document. In fact, that one was forged by the Black Chamber, it turned out. So it's not impossible to forge those sort of documents, but difficult. You need either a high-ranking member of the Black Chamber to be involved in this scheme, which of course might be possible, or, well, you need to go to a criminal organization. But you think without that you might have a hurdle. Those things, doing it by yourself, would be very, very difficult.
Gentlemen, how worthwhile is this pursuit? Because we don't have a means of contacting the Black Chamber easily, certainly for something so trivial. And do we really want to become invested in the criminal underworld of Middenheim in a way that has us owing them?
Yes, all three of you would think that these are paths you can take, but both are tricky. Going the way of the underworld, as Security says, is probably going to end up with you owing someone something. The question is what? However, if you did go down that route, well, you'd have that affidavit, and you'd have, for all intents and purposes, a perfect con. The other route would be far less dangerous, but it would occur to you, Siegfrieda, you'll have to let the Black Chamber know. And they probably will need a lot of convincing that a part of your investigation involves you being a fake noble, but it could be done. But again, you'd lose some of that freedom in how you pursue this plan. So there are two options here. But yes, what do you think, Kruger? Ironically, you would know exactly the sort of people you'd have to speak to get this done.
Well, if we wanted to pursue that, I certainly know who we could talk to. And would the people we would want to talk to be those attached to Alfric Half-Nose, perhaps?
Indeed.
I do know a certain criminal dwarf here who might be able to help us procure this if we wanted to go down that route. Or we could see if Lady Manuel Nacht wants to help us with this. I mean, if it will help us in the investigation, perhaps it might just work. And there'd be less of a risk that this would be a crime that we would be punished for after all is said and done.
There is another consideration, Siegfrieda. It's a voice in your head. Maybe it's not your voice, maybe it is, but something just whispers, saying, and what about getting your doctorate? If you had, well, that identity, you could use that identity to maybe cascade your career into the future. If, however, the Black Chamber were involved, that probably wouldn't happen. They'd probably let you have this identity for only a short while before, well, taking it away again. But again, that's just a voice. And maybe it's your own opinion, or maybe not. You can decide.
I'm nodding to myself in thought. Heinrich, I always value your counsel as well.
Heinrich leaning back, taking a deliberately large bite of an apple, making a little bit of a scene of it because for the first time, Siegfrieda needs to know something from Heinrich instead of the other way around, and he wants to savor that a little bit. But without overdoing the moment, I think I would look to both Siegfrieda and Kruger and say, I wonder if we're overthinking this a little bit. The Black Chamber, ostensibly built to prevent this kind of fraud, among other things, in the Empire, has no reason to go along with it, and we're already in their debt in a way that feels uncomfortable. But a criminal, consider we've already committed a bit to our red-haired dwarven friend to cleaning up some of the bits of Middenheim. Who's to say that we couldn't exchange dealing with the Tillian Fellowship a little bit in exchange for these services, accomplishing goals across the board that benefit us without actually having to go into someone's debt?
Certainly an interesting idea, although, Kruger, you have a sudden worry. Heinrich seems to be suggesting you deal with another chaos cult, which might be a bit tricky, considering how much trouble you're having with just one. And this one you have no idea of anything about.
Besides, we're already here to deal with one chaos cult. If we find that one, great. We can add a second to the pyre. If we don't find that one, we can hand the Black Chamber something else instead. Sigmar knows what they'll give us if we make a reputation for rooting out the Empire's enemies as such. Besides, at that point, the newly established Lady Wittgenstein would have an alliance of sorts with the Empire's own spies. Look, we got into this mess by thinking big, but we're not going to get out of it by thinking small.
Well, when you put it like that, yeah, I think you're perhaps right. The Black Chamber, this isn't going to work in the long run. Alfric Half-Nose, he can help us out. It could be good for us. It could open a lot of doors, and when all this is said and done, Well, you'd be a lady, so there's that.
It's middle ground, isn't it, between dealing with the Black Chamber and dealing with a cult, deal with a criminal guild. Well, let's go for the thieves then. Let's go for this half-nose, and let's see what he can do for us. And yes, I suppose speaking personally, it would be a lot easier to find a ennobled sponsor for my becoming a doctor if I am that noble, and I'm sponsoring this Siegfrieda person to become a doctor, and then once all that is said and done, I can hang up my robe of office and continue being a doctor.
Or you can become the lady of the land and rule fairly and treat the people well.
Do you remember what kind of place Wittgendorf was?
Well, you can't get any worse.
In fairness, that was because somebody was conducting unethical medical
No, you're right. Maybe it's a prime territory. Maybe it needs someone ruling who is also compassionate about the human condition, the body in illness, infection. Yeah, well, you are convincing me. I was all prepared to say, this is a hurdle too far, but let's set up a meet with this half-nose fellow and see what we can get out of him. But don't let it distract us from the fact that there are going to be many things that we can do and enjoy in this city. We can't... I know we are on a mission. I know the Black Chamber has put us to task. And I know time is of the essence. And yet, I feel like if we do nothing but slog forward again and again and hit our head against our enemies again and again, eventually it is going to be the death of us. We need, on our deathbeds, to be able to look back on some times of leisure and think, well, at least on this day, I did something fun.
This is true. And as Siegfrieda says, you do have a mission to follow anything you can that could lead you to the Purple Hand, well, where they are or what they're doing, which you do think the Lady Nact preferred, implying that simply finding little cells was not enough. You wanted to know what they were doing and how to stop it. And you have a city, and you have a festival, and, well, Kruger, you were already thinking of maybe talking to that half-nose about other matters anyway. And then, of course, there was the commission for commerce, tax, and trade. And, well, a kennel for dogs. There were several things that awaited you. The question is, as the day begins and you have your breakfast, what do the three of you do first? And do you do it together or separately?
Well, you have a dog to purchase, don't you, Siegfrieda?
I do. And I'm quite happy doing that alone unless one of you wishes to accompany me, but by all means, go explore the city on your own. I don't think we're all of us going to end up assassinated. Well, then again, if we are, we're probably not going to notice.
I suppose I could see if I can find a way to contact my old friend. See if I can set up a meet somehow.
But I understand you can't walk more than 5 or 6 feet in this town without getting accosted by a criminal. Shouldn't be that hard.
No, it shouldn't be.
Well, I'm here along for the proverbial carriage ride, so whichever of you desires the illustrious company of Heinrich Schilfmore, I am happy to attend.
Well, what do I think in terms of what would be the least suspicious? I mean, they don't know Heinrich, but he doesn't look like a criminal.
He does look like a heavily armed individual, which could be beneficial or not.
I could pass as an enforcer, right?
You certainly could. It all depends, really. Siegfrieda, of course, should be fine, but if she wasn't fine, she'd be on her own. So, it really depends on who you think is more vulnerable. But both are good. The choice is yours, Heinrich. If you think of it logically, if one of you was going to get into trouble, it would probably be Kruger, who's going to a den of villains. So that's probably more dangerous than a kennel.
I was going to say that, unless the kennel master happens to be a mid-level bureaucrat.
Well, they definitely will be a member of some bureaucracy. They are a kennel master, after all, and a very fine kennel master.
But jokes aside, you are absolutely correct. I feel like unless it would raise suspicion for Kruger to show up with somebody dangerous alongside, it would make more sense for me to go with him.
Very well then. Are you fine with this, Siegfried, to go by yourself to investigate matters of the kennel, while the other two go to begin the negotiations with this criminal mastermind or blackmailer or whatever he is?
Absolutely.
Very well then. The three of you have your breakfast and begin to part ways, and meet the very first obstacle of the day, which is crowds. Maybe you weren't expecting this, but it turns out the streets are very crowded. There are hundreds of people out today, going to various places. This causes a bit of a problem, since several side streets are very narrow. In fact, sometimes you even have to stop and wait, as regiments of Knights Panther, which you believe are the main Knight Order, one of the main Knight Orders at least of Middenheim, are even stopping people at parts to control the flow of traffic. Still, you will get to where you're going. It just takes maybe at least an hour or two for each of you to get to your destinations. For you, Kruger and Heinrich, after the first hour and a half, it does become easier. After all, you're approaching the Ostwald district. Now, the Ostwald district is not like the Alt Quarter was. Here, some of the windows are a lot better looking, and some of the buildings are a bit tidier, but there is still poverty here. A simple poverty, perhaps. Here, Kruger, people are not watching you from alleyways waiting to shank you, but there are definitely people watching you from taverns and rooftops. Subtler, perhaps, but definitely still watching you. You make your way to an area which seems actually quite civilized. There's a few little shops and taverns here, and indeed there are banners and people singing and laughing. And you make your way to the Regent's house. You seem to recall this was the place where you met that half-nosed gentleman. Maybe you can meet him here again. As you're entering, you have to wait a moment as a bunch of people barge past you carrying very large sacks of dead rats. You might find that surprising, Heinrich, but Kruger lets you know, pointing upwards, that there's a symbol on the door that implies this is also the home of the Rat Catchers Guild. They seem to have the top of the tavern, which is a bit odd, but that's how things go around here, it seems. What do the two of you do? You're in front of this two-story, ramshackle-looking tavern. It doesn't look very well populated right now, but there are a lot of people outside. Again, there's these rat catchers bursting past you, full of dead rats in their bags, and as you glimpse inside, you can see several armed individuals, clearly lookouts. Kruger.
Before we get too far ahead, Kruger, have you explained your relationship to this person out loud to Heinrich, or am I just going along with it, thinking nothing's up?
No, I've certainly explained that this is an old contact from the criminal underworld, someone who put me in touch with my previous employer. You know, one of these folks who can make things happen for a price and is probably very sketchy and probably dangerous if we handle them wrong, but as long as we can somehow make it worth their while or provide them with some kind of service in return for the help, this should be fruitful and we should be able to get something out of this. I mean, if anyone knows about Purple Hand activities here in the city, it would be them, and if anyone knows of corrupt bureaucrats who would be connected to them, it should be the underworld, and they're right here.
And you would also remember, Heinrich, from your own observations, just the dwarf that you met previously, informing you this man was a shame to the entire dwarven community, and he'd love to personally punch him in the face.
Well, I don't think I'll be helping out Barak with that, or Barrick, rather. So how's this work, Kruger? You have to just apologies for this being my first criminal underworld meeting. Do you do the talking and I just glower? Do you do the talking and I grunt affirmingly now and then?
You believe it would be you do the talking and he grunts affirmingly, definitely not glowering. Don't glower at anyone. For the love of Sigmar.
Everything correct there except for the glowering. Let's, try to come across as being non-threatening and non-judgmental, we don't think we're better than them, because they usually don't take kindly to that kind of stuff, and it's they're vulnerable people, in some ways. Tough situation in society, so let's be careful.
So how about this? I'll stand and cross my arms and give like the slightly narrowed eyes, not glowering, but serious face. Like observant, but not dangerous, but like a little dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I think that could work. That should prevent anyone from, jumping and robbing me, which could happen.
And then, and like hand lazily on the pistol, or no?
Maybe close by, but just don't be too threatening. Just let's be careful.
All right, threatening but non-threatening, dangerous but not dangerous. Okay, I'll get it. Yeah. All right, lead on.
All right, and the last time I spoke to Alfric, was it just go inside, or is there a password, or some person you're supposed to talk to first, or what?
You just went in and asked for half nose. Although again, there was a lot more of you. You went in with 10 or 15 friends back then.
Yeah, we don't have 10 or 15 people this time, but then again, we're a bit more capable than I was back then. All right, well, just go inside then. I'm here for business, and what kind of problem would they have with that?
You enter the Regent's house. It smells sweaty in here, the lights are low. Granted, it is the middle of the day, but the windows don't let in a lot of light. You smell dead rat. An awful lot of dead rat, especially coming from upstairs. There's a big bunch of stairs going upwards, and you see some tables near those stairs full of, well, what you assume are rat catchers. They all have big bags, crossbows, clubs, a couple of dogs are sort of yapping around them. Then there's another part of the tavern, which leads through a door, and you see two large-looking individuals guarding that door, and nearby a table of at least 7 various, enforcers. You know the type. They are armed with crossbows, there's a pistol there, mostly clubs, reasonably armoured. If something were to go down, they'd be the sorts who'd come in and beat you to death.
Yeah, it would be good to avoid that happening.
Very well then, do you go up to the 2 gentlemen guarding the door?
Yes. And I'll say, want to speak to Half Nose.
Half Nose? Today? Who are you?
Kruger. We've worked together before.
He looks at the other. He opens the door. He says quietly, "Tell your friend with the pistols to keep them stowed, or it will get very ugly."
Will do. I say, nodding to Heinrich to, don't draw the pistols.
Don't glower. I grunt affirmingly.
You step through the door, Kruger. You're in another part of the tavern. This has 3 more tables. It seems almost a bit busier. And every single person in here, you can tell immediately, knows each other. More daggers. Again, a pistol or 2, but pistols are quite rare, really. So most people have the classic crossbow, knife arrangement, or a club, or even an axe or 2. About 20 people in here. They're all currently in a very good mood, laughing, joking, playing cards, throwing dice, getting someone to serve them drink. And in a very far corner, there's someone who sticks out, largely because he's the only dwarf in the entire area. He's currently sipping a drink, looking out a very nice window. He is an interesting dwarf. He has black hair, a giant black beard, flecked with a little bit of grey. You know that means he's an older dwarf, because dwarves do age, although apparently when they get to a certain age, they stop aging. You're not entirely sure how that works, but that's what you've heard anyway. More distinguished is the fact that he has a very interesting facial feature, largely that he doesn't have a nose. Instead, 2 holes are sort of just in his face. They look very sore, very red, and there's a lot of scar tissue around these holes. But you think that's where a nose once was. Again, a lot of beard covers this, but it's still quite noticeable. He's wearing some fine raggedy clothing, although he does have a pistol at his side, a very big black hat with a feather in it, and quite a bit of jewellery on his hands. As he sits, and as you enter, he gives you a bit of a look, but doesn't say anything. What do you do?
How did I address him last time? Is it Half Nose? I mean, that seems like kind of I wouldn't want to be called that if I had lost my nose. I mean, I'd be kind of self-conscious about that.
No, you think he prefers Alfric.
Then Alfric it is. I'll move up non-threateningly and nod and say, Alfred, do you remember me, Kruger, Hoffman?
There's a moment of silence, and suddenly everyone at the same time stops playing cards, stops laughing, and all just goes silent for a second. And then this dwarf, he looks at everyone, taps the table a few times. They all get back to laughing and smiling. Ha! I do remember you. It was, well, I don't remember one of Gustav's boys. Well, what do you know? And here we were thinking, apart from Boris, they were all dead. Well, welcome back. You took your time. Where have you been hiding?
Oh, lots of places. Altdorf, all over the Reichland, really. But you said Boris survived?
Yes?
Did I know that?
No. Boris? Boris, just Boris. He was a young guy, shock of red hair, 21, bit gormless, but he could watch a door. Sometimes he liked to go by the name Bjorn. He thought it sounded more intimidating, so that's what he liked his friends to call him. He's alive? You had no idea anyone had survived.
Huh. Well, that's great news. I mean, you know, I don't know how much you know about what happened to the people, to Gustav, but they were killed in a very brutal way.
Oh, really? Oh, I don't know anything about that. And everyone laughs in the same tavern.
Well, I'm glad to hear Boris made it, at least.
He certainly did. But anyway, sit down. Let me guess. Oh, no, he says, tapping his nasal hole. You here to get back in? No problems. I'm afraid you won't be getting as nice a deal as you did last time on account of the fact that, well, your whole crew messed up, it seems, and, well, I guess it's just you. Oh, well, who's this? Who's the clown with the guns?
Oh, he's my friend, you know. It's tough to move around by yourself. It's nicer and easier when there's 10 or 15 people with you.
No, I'm sure it is. Have a seat, he says, and he snorts very loudly.
Well, I'm actually not looking to get back in. I was hoping that we could make some kind of a deal. I'm looking for some information and some help with something. And, well, I know nothing comes for free in this world, so I'd just like to see if you'd be interested in perhaps, looking into making that possible.
Ha! Am I interested in earning coin, he said. Did you hear that? Am I interested in earning coin? Well, of course I am. But that's a little odd. Why wouldn't you want to come back? You got a better deal or something? I hope, whatever it is. He leans forward. You'll be telling us what it is right now. You know how, the man gets. But go on, I'm presuming. Have a seat, you two. How can Alfric Offnose help you, my friends?
Well, I've gotten myself into a bit of a situation. Are you familiar with the Purple Hand?
He blinks. He frowns. Well, we don't know anything about any of that.
You don't? I thought you knew everything.
He grins. He taps the table. 1 gold crown.
Well, how about I pay you after we have some information? Huh? I mean, there's many questions I want to ask. I have gold with me, though. Don't worry about that.
He grins. He taps the table. We didn't really ever properly talk, did we, when we first met? I give out you information and then you give me the coin. It's not how it works. Let's not start off on a bad foot. I tell you what, because you're old. 10 silver shillings.
Oh, well. I'll take out some money then and I'll just put it there. Well, hey, here you go. So the Purple Hand. The thing is, they want to kill me.
Oh dear.
And I want to stop them from doing that.
Good luck.
Yeah. And I know that they happen to be active in the city, in the bureaucracy of the city.
How do you know that?
Well, perhaps I can ask for my money back if you want to know that. I say, smiling jokingly.
He grins. He throws over 5 silver shillings. How do you know that?
Because I found one of them and they were dead. their face having been taken off, just like Gustav. Someone got to them, and they had some papers on them that showed that. But I need to know who in the commission. Who is it that's on their payroll? Because I need to put a stop to them.
He leans back. He shrugs. Well, why the hell would I fucking know that?
You'd be able to find out, wouldn't you?
Some things are beyond even me. Let's talk in the other room if you really want to continue down this line of inquiry. After all, he says quite loudly, who's to even say I know anything about any organisation such as that you're speaking of? I am a good lawful servant of Mindenheim. I'm sure I would let the Watch know all about chaos cults. Wouldn't I?
Oh, of course you would. You are a law-abiding citizen after all, as we all are here, aren't we?
There's a bit of a murmuring. He stands and he motions for you to follow him to a smaller room. You see 4 or 5 people standing up, quite big. One of them's a woman with a very large battle axe and sort of just heading to this area as well. What do the two of you do?
I'll nod to Heinrich to follow. I mean, what else to do?
Yeah, I'm entirely on Kruger's lead here. This is about as far away from Heinrich's element as you can get.
You are led into a smaller room with a smaller table. People close the door behind you. 4 other men and women are in this room, waiting for you. As you know, there's a whole bunch outside, but it is smaller and quieter. Half-Nose sits at the table. This time he doesn't invite you to sit down.
Then I'll stand.
You're dealing with something very dangerous, young boy. You really want to go chasing around cults? Who are you working for? You better not be telling me you've now become a snitch for the Watch. Or it's just all some glory hounding, is it? Or a bounty of something. One of them kill one of your friends, or they want to kill you. Well, I've got some bad news. You're fucked. You're not going to be able to take down a fucking organisation like that just by yourself. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Well, that's why I'm coming and asking for help. I mean, these folks they're bad news for the city. They're going to be bad for business here. And if nothing else, I've tried running from them. I've tried running all across the Reichland, and they keep following me. Their crossbows and their purple gloves and all that. It's driving me mad, and I have to put a stop to it. And I might just as well do it here. So that's what I've set out to do. And if that ends up getting me killed, then so be it. I'd be dead anyways.
Probably. Alright then. 1 gold crown. No negotiations this time, boy.
I'll give him that then.
He bites it, puts it in his pocket. He shrugs. I can give you some information, lad, but it's going to be not what you want, I'm afraid. You think if me and the man we knew where they were, we'd put up with them? We don't. What's this you say about the commission? You say one of them was working there. Alright, well I guess that means they had an interest there. So I guess you'll have to go look in there. What can I offer you?
Oh, we need to know who it is, and it could even be that this person is somehow involved in this, I don't want to say it, but this really discriminating dwarf tax.
I don't give a fuck about that. However, some people do, don't they? But hang on a minute, that's a bit of a jump. Why would they be involved in something to do with taxes?
Well, it's gotten everybody riled up, hasn't it? The whole city is, well, not in a great mood. At least not the people who are affected by this. There's some kind of larger play here. I don't know what it is, but they clearly want people angry at each other, and this seems to be a good way to do that.
You're a lucky boy. I wasn't going to give you much help, but you really think they're involved with the taxes? That's, Well, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. That's the first I've heard of that, and that is a very interesting theory. Did you hear that, boys? Of all the theories we've been hearing, this one comes and says our cult is behind it all. I'll give you credit, that's original. Definitely not what most people are saying. Although, that's largely because it seems highly implausible, considering there are far bigger people who have reasons for those taxes to happen. Reasons that I suppose my employer is interested in, and I have been interested in. But you want a corrupt bureaucrat? I can give you a corrupt bureaucrat, but I have no fucking clue if they're part of the Purple Hand. You have to realise these Purple Hands, the whole thing is that they don't like people knowing what they're up to. Only reason we know anything about them is, the few years they've slipped up. 1 year, a few years ago, they were trying to get some shipments going through one of our taverns. We found out, got 5 of them, bonked them off. But, well, a couple of years later, you hear they're somewhere else in the city, so clearly there's a lot more than 5 of them.
Yeah, there's probably plenty hiding across the city. Alright, but this corrupt bureaucrat you mentioned...
I can give you several.
Well, I'd need someone who can help me get to the one that's working for the Purple Hand in the Commission of Trade and Taxation.
Well, that I can't give you, I'm afraid. I'm an honest individual, believe it or not. I could lie, but again, you're one of us. I can't give you someone who knows who the Purple Hand are. I could just give you people I know are corrupt.
Well, that's something at least. Perhaps they might know. Alright, who do you have?
10 silver shillings, he smiles.
You're robbing me blind, Alfric, but fine. I do need your help. I'll give him the money.
Let's see, corrupt. Someone who could get you information on what's going on at the commission. Well, I suppose we have had dealings with clerk here. What the fuck was his name? He sits down. He seems to be having a think, scratching his nose holes. Well, I don't know. Senior clerk Dormance is known to take bribes every now and again. He might be able to get you something. Of course, there's the commissioner herself, although I highly doubt you're going to be able to get to her. But, well, considering that she's only been commissioner for 2 years, and is also part of the chairman of the Merchants Guild, in my opinion, is quite suspicious. That's 2 names. 10 silver shillings gets you to something else. I'll tell you what, make it 5.
Alright, here you go.
If you're truly looking into taxes, you should actually probably look into the taxes. Did that not occur to you? There's more than just the commission involved, that goes all over the city. We're very keen to find out who's actually supporting that, believe it or not. The High Chancellor, Josephina Sparsam. They certainly benefit from the increase in the coffers. They are, after all, in charge of the treasury. Someone who my money's on. Well, that and, of course... oh, I almost gave you free information. But there you go, that's what that gets you.
And that's the best you can do?
Do you have more crowns?
I do. Alright. So give me the one I really need now.
He pauses. I've given you some good names. You seem to want me to lie to you. I don't know. As far as I know, none of these people are involved in cult activity at all.
Is there someone that you think might be?
No. You think if I knew who these people were, they'd be so secretive? I'll give you this for free, kid. This Purple Hand. You're dealing with, in my opinion, some of the best at not being noticed. You know how they're not noticed? They don't fucking do anything. Sometimes we hear a whisper that they've got into, I don't know, the military, or they've got into, a merchant's guild or something, and then they don't fucking do anything. Except maybe, I don't know, occasionally join all the other cults on Hexenstag and murder people then, but I mean, that's what all of them do, don't they? So, I'm afraid you'd be the one who'd be giving me information. But I've given you some pretty good names. I can give you some more if you actually are looking into the taxes. I tell you what. 5 more silver shillings for a bit of advice.
I've given you so much already.
You
That's
have.
5 more shillings.
This time he gestures for you to sit down. You want to find those people to, kill a couple of them. Well, you're probably not going to find what you want. But how do people normally find things, eh? Hey? If you were dealing with, the Gold Brigade and they were on your turf, how's the best way of doing it? Do you go and crack all the heads of all their boys at the tavern? Or do you find out where their shipments are coming from, work out when their boss is going to be overseeing the shipment, and strike them at the shipment? Which is better?
Yeah, you have a point.
So you've said it yourself. For some fucking reason you think they're behind these taxes or involved in the taxes. I'll be honest, seems ludicrous. But I tell you what, that could actually be the right sort of ludicrous they like. If you follow that trail, you might find what they're after, and that might get you more than just cracking a few heads of some lowlives. If I were you, I'd look into what you're going to look into. But again, follow the money, not the bloody cultists. You're not going to find them. They'll always quickly hide in the stonework, so to speak.
So the Chancellor then?
Well, maybe. But again, as far as I know, well, there's only one thing I know about the Chancellor. And he grins and again extends his hand. 10 silver shillings gets you that. But maybe you don't need that.
I think... Alright, why not?
He grins, slowly looking over the pile of coin you're giving this man. Heinrich, how are you feeling about this? I mean, this could be useful information, but wow, your friend's bank account is rapidly dwindling.
No, I am convinced this is 100% how it actually works. The same way that Heinrich will hear Siegfrieda just ramble about miasma and take it as Sigmar's gospel, the same is true of Kruger. Heinrich has unflagging belief in his friends, even if it is hideously misplaced. So this is just how crime works. It's fascinating to watch.
Well, I do know the High Chancellor. Well, let's just say a little bird has been telling me that some of their servants are often seen going down the Elf Quarter lately. I wonder what they could be doing down there. That's a very strange place for someone to be sending their servants, especially someone like the High Chancellor.
The Old Quarter. They're sending their servants to the Old Quarter.
Yes.
Interesting.
Clearly not going themselves. But, well, why would they be sending servants down there, I wonder? But again, who am I to say things?
Well, you've given me a lot. Thank you. There was one more thing, and I hope that I don't have to give more money already now, but there's a document that I would like to get forged. You can arrange those kinds of things, right? An affidavit?
I mean, yes.
And I'll describe what we need to have secured here.
How do you go around describing it? Do you actually truthfully say, my friend, for example, needs to impersonate a noble?
Well, I mean, they're going to find out anyways if they're, actually writing the document. So I'll describe the situation without revealing much more than that we need to impersonate a noble and we need an affidavit to prove that. I mean, there's many reasons why one would want to do that, so...
He leans in. He licks his lips. He frowns. Well, that is rather serious, isn't it, my friend? That almost sounds like a criminal activity, which, as you would know, would need to go by the man.
The man? Sure. So we should speak to the man then to get approval for that? Is that what you're saying?
You would have to do that, yes. You and your plan, hang on. Who did you say? It sounded like a woman's name. I don't see a woman here.
She's not here now, but she can be if that's what's required later on when we actually get the documents done.
All three of you are going to be needed. You're going to need to bring her here, and we're going to have a longer chat about that sort of thing, but I will see what I can do. Although, again, courtesy, you're one of us. You sure about that? It's not going to be free.
No, nothing is free in this life, I say, pointing to the pile of money that I have just given this man. But it's going to be worth it. Just like all the fantastic information you've given me. I really hope that it's going to help me solve the situation I find myself in.
He shrugs. Well, I don't know. Might do, might not. I reckon you'll be dead by, if you keep looking to their affairs, you'll be very dead, mate. Which is a shame. You escaped death that last time.
I did. But, well, we'll all have to go sometime. At least I might be able to take some people with me.
It's true, we do. Alright, fuck it. Come back tomorrow. Bring all the people involved in this little scheme. And last chance, not many people get to meet with the man. And not many people survive that meeting.
It's good advice. We'll have to be careful then. Not to upset the man.
You definitely don't want to do that, mate. You definitely don't want to do that. Well, I'm in the middle of a drink, and by Grungy, I'm going to have one. Come back tomorrow. I need to talk to a few people.
Thank you, Alfric. It was nice to see you again. By the way, Boris, I mean, you're probably going to ask me to pay money again. You don't happen to know where he is, do you?
Boris, fucking by the door, just there.
Oh. Thanks. And I'll nod to Heinrich to... it's time to make our leave. And then I'll see if I can notice Boris. He's here?
You both begin getting ready to leave, and you do indeed notice your friend. You didn't notice him at first. He's talking with some other people, and he hasn't seen you. He's in the main part of the tavern, not this part you were in. But yeah, that's his red hair. He's a very young man, about 21. Not very bright, not very quick, but he could watch your door, and he was loyal.
Then I'll move closer to him and try to catch his attention.
He turns and lets out a bit of a yelp. Ah! What? Oh god, you're not a ghost, are you? Ah!
You're alive! I can't believe it. I'm so happy to see you. I thought everyone was dead.
No, you... hang on, give me a moment, mates. This man gets up. Oh, Kruger! You're alive! How are you alive? I thought you were dead.
Everyone was dead. I found Gustav with his face torn off. It was dreadful.
Shh! I know. That's not... I don't want to remember that. I know. No, I went out to, Oh, well, you remember. We were having such fun. I went out for a drink just after we ran out, and then I fell asleep in a garbage pit. Really funny, but then I woke up and it was morning, and I was really confused that no one had come to get me, and... Oh, well then, well, hang on, let's go outside. And he gestures for you to follow him outside the establishment.
We'll do just that.
You stand outside the establishment, and he continues. And, well, I don't know what happened, but, well, I thought you were all dead. And look, and I came straight back here, and, I mean, it's not been the best of work. We were going to do so much together. Oh, hello, sorry, I'm Boris. He extends his hand to you, Heinrich.
A little shocked, having been introduced, coming out of the guard persona a little bit, but enough to shake the hand. I still don't know if this is a real person or a crime person, so there's a bit of trepidation, and probably a little bit more looking to Kruger than is appropriate given the den of thieves that we're in.
I'll just nod to reassure you.
Heinrich Schiff.
No, it was bad. I told Gustav. You told him. We messed up. And unfortunately, I found out later that wasn't even something we were supposed to do. He'd come up with that idea all on his own to work for whoever that person was. Still, I got work and it's all good. I'm glad to see you, though. You're here to come back. You're here to join up. It's good. Good work.
Yeah, I'm not going to be joining, but I hope to. I'm just really glad to see you again. I'm really happy that you survived. See, drinking too much that night probably saved your life.
Oh, I guess it did.
Just stay safe, and don't get into any of the really dangerous heists that old half-nose has planned.
Oh no, none of that. You know, well, but you don't know. He lowers his voice. The man's not really into that sort of thing often. He's quite strict. There are a lot of rules around here, not like in the Outquarter, from what I hear. They're a bit more anything goes. No, he runs things quite... lots of things to remember.
Well, hey, rules can be good sometimes. At least when it comes to staying alive. So, well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, it was great seeing you.
Well, where are you staying? Somewhere we should have a drink. It's the festival. It's been a bit lonely. Some of the other guys here were all right, but they're nothing like you and Gustav were. We were. He looks to you, Heinrich. We all came from Nuln, you know. We were orphans there. We had some good times. I miss those days now.
Yeah, it was a simpler time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Why don't I pop by? We're actually going to come back again tomorrow, so perhaps after that, if things are good, we can head out for a pint.
Oh, sure. You're coming back. Oh, I'll be here tomorrow, yeah.
I'll see you then.
And the two of you are outside the establishment, free once again. What do the two of you do? You have gathered something. You are aware that you were assured quite a few times that none of this exactly leads to the Purple Hand, but in regard to corrupt people, or people who might be corrupt, you were given a few names.
And all these folks are potentially corrupt, and all of them well, one of them might be able to tell us something about whoever it is inside the commission that is working with the Purple Hand.
Maybe. Although, again, maybe not. But they are involved and, well, they could know something. Again, also the taxes. They would all be heavily involved in them.
Indeed. Well, that's worth looking into. And there was something about this alt quarter, that the servants were going there. Perhaps that might be something. It might actually give us something to blackmailing them with.
That certainly would. Although, of course, the world of blackmail is a dangerous one.
Well, we live dangerous lives, don't we, Heinrich?
Dangerous and expensive.
Yeah, he really took all my money. But look, I don't know anyone else in the city, and I figured let's just get all the information we can, and then I'm sure the Black Chamber will reward us handsomely once we've solved this issue. And if they don't, then we'll be dead, so money won't matter.
True enough.
And with that, the two of you begin to walk through the crowds, perhaps seeing if you can work out where Siegfrieda is. Again, the crowds loud and cheerful, the festival clearly being fun for many.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this third part of the series, we are tackling Power Behind the Throne. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, and Graham Barey for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Inti Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. Except, well, who's gonna believe you? Never mind.